On this wintry January day, I would like to dedicate this video to the memory of Emily Jones, who would have been 12 years old on January 18th. Unfortunately, her life was cut short by a killer when she was only 7 years old. Her father, Mark Jones, once said, "Don't let another child die like my Emily." This is a case that everyone needs to know about, keeping your eyes wide open, and the fact that the system will never apologize to you. Bolton, a town in Greater Manchester, England, offers the perfect balance between rural and urban life. It is the town that Mark Jones and Sarah Barnes chose for family life. Mark worked as a credit manager, and Sarah was a solicitor. They worked meticulously on their careers and were successful. Their daughter, Emily Grace Jones, was born on January 18th, 2013, and was their long-awaited and only child. Mark and Sarah soon broke up, but they still remained on good terms. They co-parented Emily, who felt very comfortable with both parents. Emily grew up open and fun-loving. Everyone who knew her remembers that she was always smiling and was very unflappable and fearless. She loved outdoor activities, swimming, tennis, hiking, and rock climbing. Emily also loved horses and enjoyed learning to ride. Emily attended Markland Hill Primary School. She loved school. She equally enjoyed being in the classroom during lessons and running around in the yard at break time. The girl had lots of friends and got on with absolutely everyone at school. She was loved by her classmates and teachers. Bright and hardworking, she often joked with teachers that she finished her work before her classmates had time to write the date. Her teachers said she was creative, liked to draw, and made up stories. Mark usually looked after Emily on weekends, and he and Sarah agreed to meet in Queens Park on Sunday, March 22nd, 2020. That Sunday was Mother's Day, and the very next day, England was plunged into its first coronavirus lockdown. But that very morning was sunny and happy. Emily woke up early, prepared a card for her mom, and looked forward to seeing her. At about 2:15 p.m., Emily and Mark were at the park. She was rushing on her scooter and her father was encouraging her to go faster. Emily saw Sarah jogging and said to Mark, "Daddy, I want to go to Mom's." He let her and she set off. Emily called out to Sarah, but Sarah didn't hear her because she had headphones in and was too far away. As Emily scooted over, Mark saw a woman get up from a bench and walk toward his daughter. Then Emily was suddenly on the ground as he heard her crying, but he did not know what had happened. His first thought was that Emily had fallen and the woman was helping her up. Mark rushed to his daughter. People nearby began to scream, clearly horrified and upset, saying that the girl had been stabbed. A woman with a hood pulled over her head strode briskly away. Mark still didn't understand what had happened. When Mark found himself near his daughter, his heart sank with horror. His darling girl, his adored Emily, was lying on the ground. Her neck was catastrophically injured, and she was struggling to breathe. A professional nurse walked by. Seeing the situation, she quickly started trying to help Emily. Her condition was rapidly deteriorating. Mark told her, "Just stay with me, Emily. Stay with me. Don't leave me." Sarah was still in the park, but was unaware of what had happened. Mark called her. One of the people who was in the park at the time, Tony Kai, was there with his wife and young daughter. He saw the situation from the beginning. He ran after the woman seen with Emily as she tried to flee the scene. He wasn't sure exactly what had happened or if she was armed, but he continued to pursue her. Tony's wife gave Mark her baby's muslin cloth to try to stop Emily's heavy bleeding. The emergency services arrived within minutes, and paramedics worked quickly to try to save her. The first paramedic to arrive saw Emily being hugged by her father from behind as she lay on the ground. She was bleeding heavily and unconscious. She was also in cardiac arrest. The paramedics began administering CPR, and she was given adrenaline before being loaded into the air ambulance. At this time, Tony continued to pursue the unknown woman. He threw the woman to the ground and held her down, waiting for the police. The woman barely resisted and said strange things. She claimed she didn't need any more injections, that Tony had killed her family, and that he was killing her. Tony told her "You're not well, the police will help you." The woman responded, "I don't need you to tell me to be calm." He continued to restrain her until the police arrived and took over. A cordon was set up in the area and specialists began surveying the scene, trying to piece together what had happened. Emily was taken to Salford Royal Hospital and the helicopter landed there at 3:27 p.m. She was given artificial ventilation and blood transfusions, but remained in cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, all attempts to restart her heart were unsuccessful, and Emily was pronounced dead at 3:56 p.m. The case was now officially considered a murder. The community was in shock, and Emily's family was plunged into grief and despair. The police had to shed light on who the woman from the park was, and what had driven her to commit such an inhuman and absurd act.
Hands. Take the bag down.
Wait.
Let me take your bag off.
Yes.
Stay still.
Okay.
Hands behind your back.
Thank you.
I think she's killed someone.
I'm helping the police on.
Is it? Have you seen a child anywhere?
Yeah, she's right there.
Is she on her own?
No, everyone's with her. The ambulance is getting on.
Right. A child down there.
Get down there quick.
Yes, it's in my bag.
What is?
In my bag, ID, everything.
1816.
Go ahead.
This female is now in cuffs. She has said there's an ID in her backpack, which is by the side of my backpack.
What's in your backpack?
ID and everything.
ID.
Yes, and the knife.
And a knife.
Yeah, turn it out. Right, the time now is 14:45. At this moment in time, you're under arrest on suspicion of attempted murder. You didn't have to say anything, but it may be defensive. You do not mention something when questioned that you later rely in court, and if you do so, may be given evidence. Okay? Your arrest is necessary to protect vulnerable people and to ensure a prompt and effective investigation to this offence.
Yeah.
Okay? What's your name?
Eltiona Skana. Eltiona Skana.
Okay. Where do you live?
19 Turnstone Road.
19 Turnstone.
Yes.
Right, just wait there. Just confirm, Jay, what's inside your bag?
You can control. It's just no bombs, no nothing.
No
It's just
bombs.
my ID card.
ID card.
In my mom's ID card.
Yeah.
There's a knife, some water, some juice.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, that's it. So there's
That's
nothing
it.
that's going to
Nothing
harm
in
me,
the bag.
no?
No.
The police launched an investigation. The woman they had arrested was 30-year-old Eltiona Skana, an asylum seeker and a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. Skana arrived in the UK in 2014, traveling from her home country of Albania. She had twice been sectioned for compulsory treatment before because she was aggressive and dangerous. The first incident occurred in 2015 when Eltiona believed her neighbors were planning to hurt her by using her electricity. She had grabbed a knife and believed she was going to be attacked. On the second occasion, in 2017, she locked her mother in a bedroom before attacking her with an iron. Following both incidents, Skana was treated in hospital before being allowed back into the community. In August 2019, about 7 months before Emily was attacked, a psychiatrist agreed to change Skana antipsychotic medication from injections to tablets at her request. Victoria Fagan, Skana's care coordinator, was not consulted about the change and said she disagreed with the move as it would have made it harder to monitor whether Skana was taking her medication. In the weeks leading up to Emily's death, the inquest heard that Skana had been deliberately non-compliant with her medication and had either stopped or reduced it without informing her carers. She was last seen by a psychiatric nurse on March 11th. However, the nurse reported that she had no concerns about Skana's mental health. On the morning of March 22, 2020, Ela had left her home at around 10 a.m. and headed into Bolton Town Center. She purchased a pack of 3 crafting knives, later telling a psychiatrist that she had bought them with the intention of killing someone. She then went to Queens Park. A witness later reported that he had seen a woman sitting on the ground with her legs crossed next to a bench and added that she appeared to be agitated. He noted that she had a vacant look on her face, which also caught his attention. He continued to watch her for around a few minutes, but as she didn't say or do anything, he moved on. As Emily headed towards Sarah, she went past the bench Ela was sitting on with her hood pulled up. Out of nowhere, Ela stood up, grabbed Emily into a headlock, and launched a ferocious attack against the little girl, stabbing her in the neck and slitting her throat. Police went to Ela's flat and searched it, finding a load of antipsychotic medication totaling almost a month's worth that hadn't been taken. A doctor would later say that suddenly coming off of medication could cause someone's mental health to rapidly decline within just a few days. Ela was charged with murder and possession of a bladed article. She was remanded in custody and scheduled to appear at Manchester and Salford Magistrates Court on May 26th. As the preliminary murder hearing got underway at Manchester Crown Court, the judge expressed his sympathy for Emily's family, saying to Mark, "I can't imagine the level of pain you and your wife are going through at the moment, and you have my personal and deepest sympathy, as well as the sympathy of everyone involved in the court's process." Mark was there for the hearing, and Ela appeared via a video link from Rompton Secure Hospital, a high-secret psychiatric hospital where she was being held. The prosecution told the jury that it would be for them to decide, as what they referred to as a convenient excuse for what she had done. The court heard evidence that whilst in hospital, she had spoken to a nurse, and the conversation had pointed to this being something that had been planned. Therefore, it was not manslaughter, but rather a premeditated and calculated killing. It also emerged that from the middle of December 2019 to March 11th the following year, she had no personal contact with mental health workers. In a report read out to the court, one of the doctors said that Eltiona represented a very high risk of serious, potentially fatal harm to others. After the prosecution considered the medical evidence, Eltiona Skana was convicted of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Prosecutor Michael Brady told the court, "It is not a decision that has been taken lightly by the Crown." The judge sentenced Eltiona Skana to be detained under Section 45 of the Mental Health Act. She has been imprisoned for life with a minimum of 8 years, but she will initially be treated at Rampton High Security Hospital. It was later reported that her minimum term had been increased from 8 years to 10 years and 8 months. The judge said that the original sentence had been calculated in error and added that he took full responsibility for it, and also added that the judge had correctly classified the person as having stage 3 or stage 4 medical cannabis. After her sentence was increased, Mark said, "I will keep fighting tooth and nail for her to stay there for the rest of her life. Whether it's 10 years or 20, it won't be enough for me. As far as I'm concerned, she's a danger to the public for the rest of her life. She'd do it again to any child." In one of the interviews, Mark said, "The whole profession of psychiatry needs to come under the spotlight at some point. I think it's a real worry. It's just shocking. So we're just going to try and do our best, so Emily's death doesn't go in vain." So yeah, we'll just keep plugging away. Just try to promote mental health awareness and the dangers of relapse and not. I've met with other families in the greater Manchester area that have been affected by, by homicides and the lack of funding in mental health. Everybody knows this. There was an investigation into the work of the National Health Service and its employees regarding the case of Eltiona Skana. No violations were found in its work, and it was stated that such a development as the patient committing murder could not have been foreseen. Emily's father, Mark, said that although he was glad the inquest was over, he disagreed with the finding. "I cannot believe he has come to that conclusion," he said. "They didn't realize the threat she posed, but it was their job to know. They may be underfunded and rushed off their feet, but there are dangerous people. I don't think enough money goes into mental health services, but that's no excuse, especially when you're dealing with dangerous individuals." After all they did to us, my wife and I both suffer more than most, and they are dangerous. And so the woman is like leading this extremely dangerous proposition. And do you remember? For her devastated family and those left behind, life will never be the same. Emily was a bright and kind little girl with her entire life ahead of her, a life that would have undoubtedly been filled with joy, love, and immense promise. As Mark and Sarah said, Emily was the beat in our hearts, the spring in our step, and the reason we got up every morning. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who watched this video all the way through. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this case in the comments, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd also like to send a special thank you to everyone who has donated to support my channel. Your support means the world to me and gives me the motivation to keep making new and interesting investigations for you, my wonderful viewers. Thank you all so much.